Mark Steyn is an author, columnist, and an all-around defender of freedom and a good guy. He was nice enough to sit in for the show last week. He joins us now. Mark, I am positive that this segment is going to get us both written up by the Southern Poverty Law Center. It's pointless to say I'm going to say it anyway. I'm not defending any of these creepy groups, the white nationalist groups, or anything like that. I'm not a part of them. I don't like them. But I think the principle is worth defending. It's essential.
Absolutely. Freedom of speech enables you to argue for other freedoms. And that is the point of it. So if you don't have freedom of speech, all you can do is, as they do in unfree societies, is blow things up and shoot people. And it is interesting to me that the less freedom of speech we have, the more we have what we saw over the weekend. We have guys rampaging through the street. It doesn't really matter what side they're on. The minute you say that you can't book a conference room and hold a debate, you can't have a YouTube channel, you can't go on Facebook, then the logic of that tends towards smashing stuff in the street, whether it's toppling statues like the left did, or whether it's camping about with tiki torches like the right did and rambling on about Jews and all the rest of it. That's why I'd much rather this stuff took place in conference centres. And the other point you made, Tucker, which absolutely needs underlining, is that it always starts off with the Daily Stormer, but it goes further than that. PayPal, for example, kicked off vdare.com. vdare.com has nothing to do with what happened in Charlottesville. It's a website that is an immigration restrictionist website. It thinks post-1965 immigration has been largely disastrous for the United States. And you can say that that is a wrong position to hold, but you are doing something very dangerous when you say you cannot hold that position and use the main credit card processing service on the internet. vdare.com publishes Ann Coulter and Michelle Malkin, who are no strangers to this channel, and so there's something actually very disturbing when PayPal boots them off what is essentially a monopoly provider.
I had no idea. And that kind of is the point. It's a monopoly provider, as is Facebook, as is Google. Right. These are companies that are more powerful than any companies in American history and world history. And so, as a free market conservative for all of my life, I'm now beginning to think, well, wait a second. Do they have too much power? Are they stifling speech?
I think what you said last night, Tucker, is absolutely right, that I don't see why, if the United States government thinks in 1918, no, not 1918, I think it's about 10 years before that, 1909, whenever it was, that Standard Oil had gotten too big. If Standard Oil was too big in 1909, what is Google now? And there's a difference. The oil companies, or MGM, when they both made movies and owned cinemas, they're basically in the movie business. Standard Oil is in the oil business. Google is in the thought business. When you have someone who is actually in control of ideas, who knows the data of just about all 7 billion people on the planet, and it is enforcing an ideological straitjacket, that is far more disturbing than if a Standard Oil or MGM are enforcing ideological straitjackets. So I actually think we're moving into a very dark era where YouTube and Facebook and Twitter will bounce more and more people off their monopolies, and that will lead to more violence in the street.
I'm afraid you're right. If there were real liberals still extant, as there were during the progressive era, they would understand this. But liberals today, so-called, are on the side of the moguls, on the side of the Facebook people, on the side of Jeff Bezos. Have you noticed this?
Yes, as recently as 10, 15 years ago, they'd at least pay lip service to that apocryphal Voltaire quote that they didn't agree with what you said, but they would defend to the death your right to say it. Right. Now they will be out in the streets defending to the death their right not to have to listen to it. Nobody's asking them. I don't want anybody to defend me to the death, or Daily Stormer to the death, or vdare.com to the death, or any of them. I don't even want a mildly supportive tweet or Facebook post. All I'm saying, and you're saying, is that when we have monopoly providers, the idea that they can ideologically constrain that content is very, very dangerous.
No, it's terrifying. Thank you, Mark, for explaining that so well. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.